Hi, everyone. I'm Giaimo, and I'm talking to Ezra Levine from Collectable about his hobby predictions. Ezra, let's get right into it. What are you collecting next year?
A lot of things, but I'm going to first and foremost be collecting soccer game used memorabilia. We recently here at Collectible announced an exclusive partnership with the World Football Collection, one of the leading collections of soccer memorabilia. If you talk to those guys, obviously in the run up to the World Cup and what we've seen with the explosive growth in soccer, there is the perception in the industry that arguably the two most undervalued categories are soccer as a sport relative to its growth and game used memorabilia relative to cards, right? So collecting soccer, iconic soccer memorabilia in the lead up to the World Cup feels like the convergence of two of the most undervalued segments in the industry, obviously not securities values, but that is what I will be personally collecting is game used soccer memorabilia in 2022.
All right. What do you think will be the biggest change in the hobby in year 2022?
Well, I think if there's one thing that we can expect, it is change, right? The pace of it,
Mhm.
I always say this, the pace of innovation in the hobby probably over the last 18 months has surpassed the pace of innovation in the prior 18 years, right? So we can
Mhm.
expect the unexpected, we can expect change, we can expect innovation. There are some tremendous companies and individuals and entrepreneurs who are really changing the way collecting has been done. So without giving a specific answer, I think what we can expect is a great deal of change and innovation and continued growth for the industry for years to come.
Ezra, what are collectors buying more of in 2022? What do you think?
Yeah, again, I'll stick with it. I think game used memorabilia continues to skyrocket in popularity.
Mhm.
Obviously, cards will never lose its appeal. Of course not. Cards are as iconic of a commodity as there are. People have a great deal of familiarity with cards, and cards will always probably reign supreme. I think when it comes to which categories people will collect more of, I do think game used memorabilia is very much in that sweet spot, right? Through companies like Collectible, through fractional ownership, you can get as liquid, as easy exposure to game worn memorabilia as you can cards, right? And I think people are going to really
Mhm.
start to pay much closer attention to the game use category with increased education, increased awareness, and increased access.
Okay, but with more always comes less. So, the negative sides, what do you think people are buying less of then?
Well, I think people, I think there's going to be a quote unquote flight to safety in collectibles, right? I think people
Mhm.
are going to, I think there's going to be a divergence between people who want to collect and own the best of the best, whether that is in full physical form, or whether that's in fractional form, right? I think people
Mhm.
are now seeing for the same dollar amount as I want to spend, I can own the best of the best in various ways that are comfortable to me and affordable to me. So I think you're going to see a real divergence between people really collecting and amassing and wanting the best of the best. Again, in increments and share prices and dollar amounts that they can afford, and probably people are going to start collecting the stuff that has just not a lot of scarcity, huge populations, and I do also think people are going to continue to seek safety. And again, they're the best of the best, and probably a little bit more on the vintage side. I think people
Mhm.
are sort of seeing just, when it comes to collecting vintage, historically has been a little bit safer.
What do you think collectors, Ezra, will be doing more of? We talked about collecting, but what about doing?
Hmm. Well, my hope is through things like the Mint Collective, people will be congregating and being, part of a community in person, right? I think that's
Mhm.
one of the big things that, obviously COVID has kind of robbed from the hobby. Although it was great to see a lot of people, at the National and Beckett Summit and now the Mint Collective. But I think there's just over the last 18 months, there's been a tremendous amount of community growth, participant growth, and renewed interest in the hobby. And I think the fact that people can hopefully in 2022 can get together and share that experience and build a greater sense of community together in person, I think is something that the hobby is going to do a lot more of, God willing, in 2022.
And you already know my next question, right? Less of. I know what I want to be doing less of. Less Zoom interviews, more in person. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Certainly that. Yeah, I mean, there is no substitute for in-person meetings, in-person encounters. Seeing things in person is always really important. So yeah, Alex, I would agree with you. I think
Mhm.
I hope to do less of these Zooms and more in-person meetings at events like the Mint Collective and others for sure.
All right, let's talk stars. In the year 2022, who is the next hobby up and coming star?
Hmm. Well, are we talking athletes, or are we talking subjects of collectible items, or are we talking
I
sort
guess
of
it's all
personalities
relative.
within
Does
the
anyone
hobby?
come? Yeah, let's start with personalities. Anyone come to mind for you, or?
Well, I know a great journalist. Her name's Giaimo. I think she's an absolute rock star, and she's going to be exploding in popularity in 2022.
Best answer of the day. Thanks, boss. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. No, look, I mean, look, I think, when it comes to people within the industry and companies within the industry, again, I mean, there's a lot of rock stars. I remember, it wasn't too long ago when I left my career in finance and Wall Street to come into collectibles. And anytime I tell someone I'm getting into collectibles, there's a little bit of sort of a hesitation around that, for
Yeah.
lack of a better term.
Yeah.
They thought I was kind of crazy. And now when you tell people what you do and that you're in sports collectibles and in cards and in memorabilia, there's a cool factor. There is absolutely a cool factor, a perception change. And when the perception of something changes and more capital comes into its space, what happens is it attracts amazing talent. It attracts amazing companies. And I think really what you're seeing in collectibles in particular is the beginning of that, right? With more capital comes rock stars of all shapes, sizes, and stripes. And I think this industry is going to have a lot of amazing people within it. And Collectibles excited to collaborate with all of you.
All right, Ezra, give me an athlete that you're most bullish about for next year in the hobby.
The athlete that I have my eyes most closely set on is Alexander Ovechkin from the Washington Capitals. Ovechkin is sort of the perfect confluence of a couple factors here, right? We have an immediate upcoming catalyst in the fact that Ovechkin has a chance to surpass Wayne Gretzky, the Great One's goal scoring record. If he does this, that will, not that his legacy needs to be solidified, but will absolutely solidify his legacy even further. We're also seeing hockey, right? Hockey as a sport and hockey as a collectible category is starting to really tick up in prices and value and popularity. Hockey, obviously, over the summer signed a new media rights contract that will probably put hockey more in front of our television screens and sort of our eyeballs in the years to come. Hockey in general, we've seen the rise of collectible prices. We've seen a couple six-figure sales of Alex Ovechkin as of late. So again, I think Ovechkin has an incredible historic upcoming catalyst in combination with just the rise of popularity in hockey overall. I'll also say, look, I think women's cards in general, I think women's collectibles, whether that's a WNBA, whether that's women's soccer. I mean, I think women, obviously with Serena is really leading the charge. Mia Hamm is leading the charge, but I think women's sports is just a massive area of opportunity and growth across the industry as well.
Yeah, I love it. Hockey in general, there's so much potential there to just absolutely explode. I got a pair of ice skates back there, so I might be a little biased. Which established company do you think collectors, investors alike should be following next year?
Yeah, well, I try to be biased in my remarks, but I'm not going to be so biased here. There's a fractional ownership company called Collectible that I think is a real rising star in the category. Collectible has explosive growth in its first year by sourcing and consigning just iconic opportunities for sports fans, collectors, and investors of all income brackets to be able to, again, own some of the best of the best. And so I think you're going to see Collectible really exploding in popularity again in 2022. I think you're going to see fractional ownership continuing to become mainstream. You're going to see some absolutely iconic opportunities. And, I think you're going to see some really interesting stuff on the content and live events side. Obviously, with the Mint Collective and a bunch of content, this is something, education and content in the hobby and collectibles in general is something that I think there's a real need for. High quality, educational, informative, and entertaining content is something that will never go out of style. And I think Collectible will be a real leader in all those categories.
All right, Ezra Levine, I want your prediction right here, right now. What will be the biggest surprise within the hobby in 2022?
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a surprise, obviously, right? Because we've seen real record prices set, but I do think we're going to see our first confirmed 8-figure sale in the industry for a collectible. And I don't think it'll be long until we see our first 9-figure sale, as crazy as that may seem to some.
Big number.
But we will, in 2022, we will absolutely see one, if not multiple, 8-figure sales. And I really hope that Collectible is very much a part of one, if not all of those.
All right, let's talk Mint Collective really quickly. I hope to see you there. I'm so excited for it. What are you most looking forward to there?
I think it's it's really the sense of community, right? It really is. Again, I think coming off the national, coming off of the Beckett Industry Summit, what we've been hearing all along, right, is that people want to get together. People want to share this love, this passion for sports collectibles, and they want to learn more, right? I think what you're going to see about the Mint Collective is you're going to see a lot of the same familiar faces, but you're also going to see some new faces, right? Some more investor types, people who are coming into this, looking at this very closely as a legitimate alternative asset, right? The beauty of this industry is the combination of passion and profits, right? So this is going to be an amazing opportunity for people to learn, to share, to educate, and to be amongst their peers, and to hopefully, really sort of bring this industry into its next chapter of growth.
All right. And what better place to do that, Ezra, than in Vegas? I will see you there, right? Thanks for joining
Look
me.
forward to it. Can't wait.
Me too.